Hello, everyone. I'm inspired to welcome you to another edition of my weekly price action based technical analysis series. In today's video, we are going to be delving into an insightful analysis of the US oil commodity, providing valuable insight through a comprehensive price action based perspective. In less than 7 minutes, we should be able to run through my thought process as regards to the current market structure using simple but powerful setups to uncover ideas that can potentially shape our trading decision for the upcoming week. As usual, we are going to be relying on the power of trend lines, key levels, and of course, chart patterns to gain insight into the historical price movement of this current market structure. And in fact, the previous week was a very profitable week for us after enjoying a strong bullish momentum of price action as price action moved gradually into that $77.20 level before we begin to notice some profit taking looking like price movement pushing price back into an important area. But before we go into the details of what our expectations is going to be like for the coming week, let's take a couple of minutes to reflect on the key moments that influenced the decision of buying the US oil last week. Now, talking about last week's trading session, we started the week on a bearish note. I think let's run through that structure quickly. How the week started for us. Okay, so this is what we saw at the beginning of the week, at least during the first 6 to 7 hours. We saw our price action remain trapped within the $73.60 and, of course, the $73.20 level. And you know how we do it in this community when we have price action falls into this kind of flat range. We want to wait patiently for market structure to mature. So we're going to be looking out for signals in the form of a breakout or breakdown of the channel. So with our orders placed at both end, we initially had a sell stop order triggered as we saw price moved a little bit in our favor before we were taken out of that position in loss. In fact, we had a couple of losses at the beginning of the week before we gradually begin to see how sellers struggled around the $73 level. And as a result of this, we identified a potential demand zone around that area and using the newly identified ascending trend line and the descending trend line you see on your screen to guide our trading activity. And with a breakout retest of the descending trend line, we had our second buy position triggered for the week. And since that moment, we have been buying the US all spot, even capitalizing on key levels that were broken along the line to maximize the potential of that bullish move. So it was quite a very profitable week for us on the US All Sport last week. And for those who would like to review this commentary for educational purposes, I already have the link in the description box below for your reference purposes. And for you watching from my YouTube channel, of course, you will be seeing the link at the top right hand side of your screen. Now, going back into the chart right here, this is what I was able to spot trying to decipher what is likely going to be happening in the coming week. So, what I did here was to take into consideration the activity of price action since the beginning of this month. And one obvious thing we could see here is that price action has been very bullish. And if we take a step further to connect the series of higher lows here, in fact, we have a couple of trend lines that we are going to be using to guide our trading activities for this week. Now, with this setup duly identified here, our next line of focus is going to be on what really went on in this market last week. Remember, we finally saw a bullish momentum pick up, especially around that $73, $74 zone to inside that impulsive move. And one thing we noticed here is that as soon as price action got into that zone, around the $77.20 level, we begin to see some selling pressure resume in the market to push price to the downside. And I'm of the opinion that this move that we witnessed was as a result of a strong consumer sentiment report from the US economic docket could have been a major factor in this profit taking activity that we saw here. Now, the question going into the week at this point is this going to be a retracement of the impulsive move that started last week? Or are we going to be seeing a situation where price will be dropping further to the downside? Now, to answer this question, we need to take a further look at what is going on in this market using the key levels and trend lines we are able to identify here. Now, if you take into consideration the impulsive move, hold on a second, let me start from here. If we take into consideration the impulsive move that started last week from here, you would agree with me that this bearish momentum we noticed during the second half of last week could turn out to be a retracement of that impulsive move, where price action may come back into the ascending trend line here, which of course also shares a confluence around the $75.25 and of course the $74.50 area, giving us a clue into how critical the current structure is at the moment. Now, looking at the situation here, we don't know how far this retracement phase is going to go. The question at this point in time now is, will price action respect the ascending trend line again to incite another wave of bullish momentum? Or are we going to be seeing a situation where price will drop, break down both the $74.50 level and the ascending trend line to incite a sell off in this market? So, these are the two scenarios I'm going to be looking forward to this week. And in order to help us guide our trading activity for this week, I went down into the 1 hour time frame where I was able to identify a potential demand zone that could likely be a platform to incite another wave of bullish momentum this week. So right now price is back around the 75 zone, and in fact if you go to as far back as last week's trading session, we saw how that zone here turned out to be a platform for buying pressure. We saw price come back at one point midweek, retest of structure as seller found it's difficult to break through that area. And on the last trading day of last week, we saw how buy pressure resumed around that area. So I'm of the opinion that this level might hold for the week, and we might likely see patterns and structures that will support the idea of a trend continuation to the upside. Then we could be considering buying anywhere above that $75.25 level, which is going to be serving as my key level for this week. However, if price action goes on to break down this demand zone that is taking out all the buyers along this area, then this could be a sign that sellers might likely come in this market. And in fact, a breakdown of the zone will have also broken down the ascending trend line, which will happen to be the first time that trend line will be broken down in a couple of weeks. Now, with that situation there, it's very possible that selling momentum could come in to push price further to the downside. But trust me, I'm going to be with you in the comment section of this video, as always, to give you update on what I think will happen after monitoring how participants in the market will be reacting to the zone during the early hours of the new week. I hope this video has been of immense help. If you have found the content helpful and useful in making your independent trading decision for the week, I would greatly appreciate your support by giving the video a thumbs up. Your likes are valuable to me and helps the algorithm promote the video to a wider audience of traders who may find the material beneficial. Thank you in advance for doing so. And if you haven't already, I encourage you to follow me on this channel for more of this content. By subscribing, you would always stay updated with the latest ideas I share, and of course, receive notifications whenever I upload new videos and commentaries. See you in the comment section on Monday morning as we get prepared for the new week. Do have a wonderful evening, everyone. Bye bye.